Hey, I just wanted to show you some ways that you can sort of bridge the gap between sections here. So I have a really basic ABA project made right here. It's called Taco Time, and I'm liking that first burger. My B section sounds like this. I started with a pad because the pads are very, first of all, they sound very good in SOUNDTRAP, but they usually stand in stark contrast to the high energy A sections for the most part. Okay, pretty good sounding intro too. Okay, it sounds nice. I can't remember if I've shown you this before, but one of the easiest ways to make these entrances more forceful and present is I love using the sound effects called Buildup. So there's one, some of them these reverse noise, so they just kind of go. That one's pulsating for some reason. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to add that at the end of my intro. You can see they give me 4 of them, and they're not even with the measures. So you're going to have to sort of maybe turn the snapping off and really get in there and trim it down so you only have one. Okay. Now I'll turn the snapping back on. That's just snapping it to these grid lines. If you turn that off, you can move it nice and smooth. By the way, I don't tell my students anything about that because then they think it's like an advanced technique, and then they all want to use it, and then none of their burgers line up. Okay, so the snapping is our friend, unless you have somebody super advanced, at least at the middle school level. So I'm gonna put that just underneath, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm zooming in a lot. So if I need the students to really get in there precisely, I don't tell them to turn the snapping off. I tell them to zoom in a lot, and then you can really fine tune where this goes. I want to have this build up end right on the entrance, so I'm going to overlap it just a tad. Okay. Okay, so that it sort of peaks kind of early. It peaks like right there. So maybe I'll do that. Add just a little bit of a fade out. Okay, it was a little too dramatic. Even still, it's like crazy loud for my speaker right here. So that should be good. Now, next up, the build-ups usually go hand in hand with these bass drop slams. I have a couple friends, or I have a friend that is a producer, and I believe in the actual industry, it's called an impact. It sounds like this. Maybe you can't hear it through my mic, but it goes boom, just a big boom. They're called impacts, and they're all over pop music. That one's pretty aggressive. So I'm gonna add that in its own track. And again, I got to zoom in a bit and make sure that the articulation is right where I want it. Okay, that needs to be nice and loud. I could even add like a ton of reverb to that. A ton. Crank up the bass a little bit. Yeah, so that helps a ton, especially if you have this going through a decent stereo with like bigger speakers and not your Chromebook. You should be able to hear that. Okay, so that's going to help my intro a lot. This same exact thing could happen, so I'm just going to copy those at the end of your A section. Or more accurate, maybe since this went into the A, maybe we should put it back into the A. So I will paste those here, and then just make sure they, make sure they line up correctly. We're getting into like the really nitpicky stuff here, the details. So we're having to zoom in a lot. Okay, so take a listen to that. Okay. So when you have an ABA and nothing decorating it, it sounds kind of jarring to just have the A section halt and then the B section start. You know, people, including my students, think that it sounds like two different songs, and I get that. But there's ways we could do this. They will inherently, I've noticed, just do this, fade out there, fade in here, and I understand what they're trying to do. It's almost like they're trying to do a crossfade where this one's fading out while this one is fading in, but that's not happening here, right? So what they end up getting is what sounds like the end of the song, total silence, and then something new starting, right? So I see them do that all the time. I get what they're trying to do, so I try to teach better ways to do it. So one of the things you can do for this transition, if you don't want to do a build up and do a drop slam, is you could pick one of these three that's not super loud. Like, what's this one sound like? What's this one sound like? What's this one sound like? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take this first one. I'm going to paste another one in here. Oops, come on, buddy. Click. If you're getting this message, it's because you're trying to paste into the wrong channel. So I have to make sure I copy this one. This one is now lit up, so you can click. So this row is selected, and then it'll let you paste. It fits perfectly, and I only want half of this. Let's see what I'm going to do here in a sec. I'm just going to fade that out. So listen, this keeps going through the B section for a little bit, and it reminds the listener you're still listening to the same song. Maybe I could even use one of these without the buildup. Might help. You kind of get the idea. This isn't the greatest example. Sometimes that works better. Other times, I will paste the full version in, and I will just have it play every so often. Like maybe I'll trim, or split, I should say. Delete. I remember how I usually do this. Yeah, I think it's something like this. So take a listen. So it's really loud in your face right now. But the point is, you're reminding the listener, hey, remember that thing from the A section? We're still in the same song here. All right, here's a few more. These are a little bit more advanced that I'll do with students that can handle it. That needs a fade out or something. Another thing you can do getting back out of the B section is take the beat from your A section, which is here, stick it over the B section, and then we are going to cut all of that out except for the last half of the measure. And all we're doing is making a pickup measure. And usually when I do this, I like to cut out the last half a measure from the B section. See what I just did, right? Take a listen first. me back it up even more. And let's have this keep playing. Can I do that? Yeah. Yeah, it's a little. There's a little bit of a dropout. The floor kind of falls out of it in this example, but you get the idea. This kind of saved it, I think. I'm gonna have this play all the way through, and these two drop out. Just gives us a nice setup. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're in. And this is a spot where you have one of these, maybe. 4, 4. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's these buildups into drop slams are super useful. By the way, there's let's say I don't want to use a drop slam. A student showed me this. There's a sound effect. You just type in explosion. It's like even more epic bass drop slam. So these work really well too. I put it in the. I should have given it its own thing here. Here we go. All right, so let's zoom in and make sure it's right on the money. Cool. All right, so those are some of the ways maybe that you can transition into these sections. Let's see. Let's have this guy be my outro. Watch this. Copy, paste, split in half. I only want half of that. Let's have it fade out. And just because it's funny, we've been finding some very weird, disgusting sound effects that the students like to add at the end here. So here's my outro. Okay. Those are just a few examples. Hopefully that helps. Thanks.